Andrew, sing a little bit of Dear Evan Hansen for me.
There's the one song that's like where he ends it and he's like, whoa, or something like that. And look, I watched this literally a few hours ago and I've already forgotten the songs.
Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Well, I just watched Dear Evan Hansen, so I'm sure you can guess how I'm feeling.
Oh, I bet you're feeling great.
I feel like someone just broke my arm.
All we see is sky for forever. We let the world pass by for forever. Feels like we could go on for forever this way.
Dear Evan Hansen is a stage musical with music and lyrics by Ben Platt and Justin Paul, the lyricist of La La Land, which Andrew loves so much. The book was by Stephen Levinson. It tells the story of a young man with social difficulties that inhibit his ability to connect with other people and make friends. He yearns to make a connection with his peers and fabricates a relationship with a deceased student to become closer to the boy's family. That's a general plot. Andrew's going to go into that deeper in a bit. But the musical opened on Broadway at the Music Box Theater in December of 2016, after its world premiere at the Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. In July 2015, an off-Broadway production at the Second Stage Theater was held in March to May of 2016. At the 71st Tony Awards, it was nominated for 9 awards, winning 6, including Best Musical, Best Score, Best Actor in a Musical for Ben Platt, Best Featured Actress in a Musical for Rachel Bay Jones, and it deserved only 2 of those, and the rest should have gone to Great Comet, and I'm still angry about that, and holy shit, Great Comet got fucked by this show. Andrew, well, do you want to tell me your general thoughts on Dear Evan Hansen?
This show made me a little angry.
It made me more than a little angry. I will say that I was both cringing and furious the first time, and even more so the second time.
If anyone remembers way back when we did the Tonys episode, 2 years ago now?
Coming up this June.
So if anyone remembers that, we discussed this briefly, and I was laughing hysterically at the description of the plot, because I thought it was so absurd and dark that there's no way that could actually be the real plot. And I think it's actually worse than I initially thought. And watching it is actually just kind of depressing rather than funny, though, because it seems like the show itself doesn't recognize, or it does recognize and refuses to play it in a way that is comedic or anything.
It feels like it wants to be self-aware, but isn't self-aware.
Yeah, I'm like trying to even describe it. It's like someone took the premise for like a really dark comedy and they're like, let's just have this play and the person doing all the horrible stuff is our hero and everyone should feel bad for him. And that's the show.
And there's a lot of elements I really like about this show. Like, there's specific elements that if you take them and string them together, you can make a really good show. It just isn't the show we have.
All right, so I'll go into the plot. We can go step by step here.
I'm in for the ride of Andrew DeWolf explaining me the plot of Dear Evan Hansen in detail.
So it opens up with just Evan in his room moping about, essentially, and his mother comes in and is all concerned about him. And just immediately, it's just playing this Evan is this just depressed person, I guess, who we should all feel sympathetic for, et cetera, et cetera.
But he doesn't act like a human being is the thing. Like, in that opening, we're supposed to empathize with him, but he's not acting the way that humans act.
No, he's acting like one of those inspirational social media posts or whatever. Maybe not inspirational. One of the ones where people talk about how they're like introverted, #introverted, that kind of stuff. I'm sure someone has seen this type of thing, but he's basically quoting those, and I guess that's how people act in real life.
It's strange because it feels so disingenuous, and I know, like, to everyone in this show's credit, we don't like the show, but I think all the actors do very well with what they're given.
Yeah. But
Ben Platt tries to deal with this long monologue that's it feels unhuman. It feels like someone tried to replicate social anxiety by way of the Big Bang Theory's version of it.
Yeah, it's like, social anxiety, that's when you just sit in your room all day and talk about how you can't talk to people, right? That's how that is.
We got to get that plot out there without him having to talk to people, because we set up that he can't talk to people.
Yeah, obviously. So you got to have him sit in his room and talk about how he can't talk to people.
And I think he's trying to write himself a letter and failing.
Well, the mother comes in and she's all upset because she can't connect with her son because her son is just the physical embodiment of social anxiety, I guess.
The embodiment of the worst person you'd ever want to spend time with.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is a person that literally every time I talk to them, it's just going to be them complaining about their own problems. Okay. And then you go over and you meet the Murphy family, and they're a dysfunctional family, and you have Connor Murphy and Zoe Murphy, the brother and sister team up there.
I mean, yeah, and team up, I guess. That's one way to put it.
They're a team. They're a team. They're in it to win it, okay? She doesn't like him, and he's kind of a dick, but he's also high, so I guess that's understandable.
And his parent, like, they're wealthy. Like, they're an incredibly wealthy family, and they've got the one son that's, like, possibly a psychopath, who's a little bit on the mean side, and they're all doing the barest minimum, but it's obvious that this is a daily routine for them, and they're just they've given up on him, basically.
How is the son a psychopath? I don't get that, Jess, okay? He's just sitting at the table in his metal clothes, okay? He's the most relatable person for me in the show, okay?
I think that says more about you.
I'm not a psychopath. Maybe, you know. What am I saying? Something about Connor.
Connor, go back to Connor.
He doesn't really strike me as like a psychopath or anything. And really, he only does one mean thing in the whole show. It's in response to someone else being a dick to him.
He seems easily, like, angered. Like, not by, like, his family and all that. Like, all these, like, his dad and his mom. He, like, seems very quick to be angry with them.
He's an angsty teenage boy. What do you want? Like, he seems pretty normal to me. I don't know. They try to play him off as, like, some sort of really bad dude. But I don't know. He doesn't really do anything that strikes me as like this irredeemable character.
Oh no, he's not irredeemable, but he does seem a little hard to like at first.
Hey man, I'd mosh with him.
So he gets into a fight with his parents, and on the first day back at school, where he's high and his mom's like, I don't want you going to school high, and he's like, well, I guess I'm not going to school then.
It was a good line, you know. He really got her. Then he goes to school anyways, I guess, you know, whatever. I guess he just likes it. Who's the nerd kid? What is his name? Is that Jared?
Jared, played by Will Rowland.
Yeah, he's a dick. He's probably the meanest person in the show, other than maybe Evan.
Probably the least easily likable in the show, aside from Evan.
Yeah, so he pisses off Connor by calling him a school shooter, which, you know, I guess he dodged a bullet that Connor went straight for himself.
Jesus Christ. Shit. Jesus.
What's that, Jess? But Connor's not too happy about that, so he pushes Evan down and breaks his arm.
No, Evan's arm was already broken.
What?
Yeah,
no, I knew that. I was seeing if you were actually listening, Jess.
Yes, I'm listening. And then after he gets pushed, Evan sings a song about waving through a window.
Except he can't wave because one of his hands is in a cast.
So Evan then tries to write his letter again, and he writes something vague and being like, this isn't going to be a good day or a good year, and I want to be with Zoe, which is Connor's sister, and yeah. Yeah,
and then he prints it out in the school library or something like that, the computer lab, and I guess he left it in the printer so long that Connor found it. I don't know why Connor was in the computer lab, but
he was just wandering around. He sees Evan and is like, man, what happened to your arm? And he says, I fell out a tree. And he's like, that's sad. I'll sign your cast. And Connor signs his cast. And then Connor, after that one good deed he does.
So basically, Evan drives him to suicide. Really cool. By printing a really weird letter in front of him
about his sister. That's mostly what tipped him off, is the fact that he wrote a letter about how much he wants his sister. But then Connor steals the letter from him, pushes Evan down, and then walks away. And Evan's freaked out, like, oh my god, Connor hasn't been to school in 3 days after he found out my letter where I was ogling his sister. What am I gonna do? And then he gets called to the principal's office to find Connor's parents. And they're like, we found this letter addressed to you. And it was his suicide letter.
So Connor didn't actually write a suicide note, which is kind of lame. But I guess that's understandable from him. He doesn't seem like the type of a writer, you know? So I don't know why he still had that letter on him when he committed suicide. That's interesting, but
coincidence? Maybe it was just kind of in his pocket.
And Evan is such a cowardly baby man that he's unable to convince people that he wrote the letter himself or whatever. And for whatever reason, people are really quick to believe that they were like best buddies just because he had this one letter, even though no one ever saw them together a single fucking time.
And Evan immediately sees that, hearing that the parents seeing that their son had a friend made them feel better because they never thought he had friends.
So basically he goes full on and just lies entirely to everyone that he was best friends with this kid, and then pretends to be him in emails and writes emails to himself. Or has his friend write. I don't know why they're using the friend in this situation. He could just write them to himself. Is he stupid? You can just write an email with a different email account to yourself. You don't need a second computer.
They need to backtrack the dates and change the dates. God, they set that up.
People are so stupid. They're believing you were friends with this kid to begin with. Like, they're really going to check the dates? Probably not. Just Photoshop them if it's really that big a deal. Anyways, you're not emailing it to other people. You're printing them.
I'm just imagining Evan photoshopping the dates like it's all the same, but the dates like in Comic Sans or something.
They'd probably still believe it. Dude, the kid went to dinner and he was like, oh yeah, he liked trees. Connor really liked trees. And the family's like, oh.
So yeah, he's invited to dinner at the Murphys. The daughter's like, what are you doing here, you weirdo? And he makes up this whole story about how he and Connor went on this like road trip and they climbed a tree and they were best buds and they loved each other.
And then there's like literally songs where he's puppeteering Connor. I hate this fucking show. This show is so fucking fucked up.
And it's not even like fun fucked up. Like, there's sometimes...
No, I like shit that's fucked up. I watch movies that are really fucked up. This show it's fucked up in a bad way, a really bad way. Yeah, so he lies to the family so long that he's able to talk to the sister or something like that, and then he tries to kiss her, and that's fucking weird.
And he tries to kiss her on Connor's bed, which is just so fucked up, man.
And then they have the nerd character be like, oh, that's so fucked up. And it's like, yeah, well, you know what? So you know it's fucked up, but you're still playing it off like this character is sympathetic. This is not a sympathetic character. This guy is a dick. So Evan is like vicariously living through this kid that killed himself. He's basically using all the sympathy that suicide brings you, but to his own benefit. If this show was trying to say some really negative stuff about how society and social media reacts to things like suicide, it would be really good. But I don't think that's what it's trying to do.
What do you think the message of the show really is, then?
I think the message of this show, if you do really bad things for a good reason, it's good even if it's really bad. Is that the message?
Fuck, man, I don't know. Let's talk about Act 2. What happens in Act 2?
Okay, Act 2 is when the show starts pretending that Evan actually is a bad person, but not for the reason that he's a bad person, but because he lied to other people about different things.
Yeah, so Evan's mom finds out he's been hanging out with the Murphys so much, and all at once she discovers that he's been misconstruing how little that they make per year and making it seem like he's like super poor and that she can't really fund him. And she gets really mad because of how she's being represented in this household as this negligent mother. And so he gets yelled at and treated badly because he lied about that.
Yeah, so basically Evan is a bad person because he didn't lie to his mother about what he lied to everyone else about. Basically, she's calling him out because he was been going to this other family, but not because he was lying to this other family. And then I guess like there's like a liar revealed finally where he finally comes out with the truth because the quote unquote suicide note comes out and he can't bear it.
Well, it also makes the Murphys look really bad because Connor's suicide letter in theory is addressed to Evan, and they're like, why Evan and not like his mom or his sister? Were they really that negligent of Connor they must be horrible people. And so Evan has all that pressure on him too.
Yeah, so basically Evan fucks everything up for everyone. But I guess what he was doing was so good all along that they can't reveal that he was lying to them, to everyone, because, oh man, it just, he was helping everyone in the world. His speech was just so beautiful. Everyone needs that.
Andrew, the show makes me so goddamn angry.
The show makes me want to fucking puke.
You will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around. You will be found. You will be found.
All right. Do you want to hear how I would do this musical if I had to take the basic concepts that exist here and make it into... I have 3 options, actually. All right, so the first one would be a carousel situation, where you have Connor who commits suicide and has to walk like a ghost through the aftermath of his death, watch his family go through the trauma, watch all this, and then watch Evan come in and incept like what actually happened. And we get to see his reaction as this ghostly figure and eventually take action through some means. And I think that would be a good way where we could literally have Evan as the villain.
Yeah, because it almost feels like Evan is the villain anyways, so you might as well have an actual protagonist in the story, you know?
Yes, you have that. If we have Connor there, and he has the arc of, like, maybe I was a big dick in life, and maybe, yeah, you have him learn that lesson, you could have an effective story.
And then you also have a nice man with long hair as the lead.
The second option for a story would be a mother dealing with her son slowly falling away for another family, and dealing with that when you're like that. I think that could be, like, a really interesting story if that would be your main character.
Yeah, and they kind of do that for, like, 2 songs, but it's just such a small subplot that it's not really, it's not the whole show at all.
But that's the best subplot.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Rachel Bay Jones just kills that role.
All right, what's your third idea?
A family dealing with the aftermath of losing their son and all the trauma that can cause, and dealing with the fact that he was a difficult person to deal with in life and not quite knowing how to mourn for them. You get that basically in Requiem, like as a small segment, but I think if you extend that, it would also help like hone down the tone of this tone-deaf mess that we're in, mismanagement of characters and all that, and it would keep it focused on a family unit. You could
also, with that too, you could even keep the themes that this show does bring up, but do them in a more positive light by having them turn to one of these I can talk to your dead son type people, and then have them realize that really it's not helping them at all. It's just a false hope almost.
Yeah. So all 3 of those stories, like different versions of this story, you could have something much more interesting where you don't have horrible, nervous McAsshole as your main character.
Yeah, so talking about Evan specifically, the character type of this nervous wreck is so fucking frustrating, and I hate it so much. And I feel like, especially in this show, it's just being used as a cop-out to get this guy to do anything and still have sympathy from the audience, because you can't feel angry at him because, oh my goodness, he's so anxious all the time, and oh my god, he's got so many problems. But it's like, just because you have fucking problems, everyone has fucking problems, okay? You don't just get a get out of jail free card to do whatever the fuck you want. It's he needs to get some sort of comeuppance in this show, and he just never gets it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he cries a little bit in front of this family.
Yeah, it's like, oh, boo fucking who? You literally just lied to them for the last, 2 weeks, And
embezzled a lot of money on behalf of a guy that probably didn't give a shit about trees.
True.
Everyone likes to, gloss out right over that.
Yeah, so, fuck Evan.
Thank you guys for listening. We're sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we're here to shill at you. Yeah, we like shilling, don't we, Andrew?
Oh, we all love shilling. Who doesn't like money? I mean, someone likes money, right?
Yes, please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all of them at Musicals with Cheese. Our Twitter is at Cheesy Musicals. Please tell us how you like this episode. Tell us if we're wrong. Tell us all that stuff. We're on Instagram at Musical Theater Lives. same as our YouTube. And if you want to email us, please email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Also, we're about to do a holiday giveaway right now to one of the people that wrote a review for us on iTunes. You ready for this, Andrew?
Oh, I'm ready. Who won?
We are giving out a Gold Star $25 credit at Gold Star. Gold Star is the easiest, most affordable way to buy tickets to shows all across the United States. And the winner of that Gold Star credit is Melissa Goldman. Thank you very much for reviewing. Thank you for watching. Please email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com so we can set you up with that $25 credit. And have a happy holiday with that.
Enjoy it, really. Get some nice tickets. Go see some good shows.
Don't see Dear Evan Hansen.
Don't see Dear Evan Hansen. Whatever you want to see, just don't see this one.
Yeah, don't see this one. All right, thank you. Let's get back to the normal show.
Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned. Because you've learned. On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? Cause I'm tapping on the...
How about we move away from like the actual content of the show and talk a little bit about the songs and the music altogether?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll talk about the music in general.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the main like theme that became like the pop hit of it, Waving Through a Window, Evan's I Want song that really, I don't know what the fuck he wants.
He wants to be on the other side of the window, you know, he wants to talk to people, but he's too cowardly to do so. He basically, it's okay. You know, it's passable. I didn't hate it.
It's a blatant ripoff of Stephen Schwartz's The Wizard and I. And if you want that explain more, please check out Kevin Lynch's video explaining, like, basically where he plays Waving Through a Window and shows you how they're connected. And now I can't hear the song without hearing The Wizard and I. And
I've
so
never
I get
heard
angry.
The Wizard and I song, so when I hear it, it's gonna sound like Dear Evan Hansen. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't worry, you'll be like, oh, Wicked's really good, so I don't care.
Yeah, that's probably how I will feel, but I'm just letting everyone know that I haven't heard that, so I did not hear the rip-off qualities.
Parents, but each day's another fight. If I stop smoking drugs, then everything might be alright.
Smoking drugs.
Just fix it! If I stop smoking crack. If I stop smoking pot, then everything might be alright.
Let's talk about Sincerely Me, which is probably one of the least charm songs in musical theater history.
This was the one that really ticked me off the most.
Like, Andrew was pretty optimistic about this show, like, up until Sincerely Me happened. He's like, oh god, they're puppeteering his corpse to say whatever they want.
Yeah, it's like literally puppeteering his corpse. That's like, it's like, okay, if they did this in a where it's like, these are selfish characters, you're not supposed to like them, you're not supposed to feel bad for them, bad things are going to happen to them. This is funny because they're terrible. That would be okay. The way it's done, though, is these are sympathetic characters that you're supposed to feel bad for, and what they're doing is a good thing. And what they're doing is puppeteering a corpse. You know, it's like Weekend at Bernie's, but you know, it's not funny. It's supposed to be heartfelt. I don't know, man. I don't. What's your thought here?
I think it's crazy inappropriate. Like, I get that you need a comedic song, like, at this point in the show, because that's how musical theater structure works, but the humor is just so inappropriate. Like, we literally just had this really traumatic scene where this mother is sobbing over her son's death, and the father's like, no, he wouldn't want this, and all that. Then we cut to here to, like, having Evan and fucking Jared, like, making fun of him, like, I'm smoking crack, and I rub my nipples!
Yeah, it's like, didn't this kid just kill himself? Like, shouldn't this be considered taboo? How did this make it on Broadway?
How did this win Best Musical?
How is there not like a hashtag trying to boycott this thing? Like, am I crazy? I don't know.
I think the fact that it is a stage musical, like, this feels very akin to 13 Reasons Why in its problematic territory, and I hate that word problematic because it's been, like, driven into the ground by a lot of, like, people using it either wrong or as an attack. But it really does make you feel like, are you guys really taking this topic seriously, that you're like puppeteering for your own use in this musical.
Yeah, it's like you're taking this topic that actually is really serious and actually does affect real people, and you're turning it into like a joke. And not a joke in like a dark sense, like, oh, I'm a bad person for making this joke. Like a joke in that, haha, this is just funny, you know? Like, I don't know.
And it's not even like high schoolers make dark jokes. That's a coping mechanism that a lot of high schoolers do. You and I made jokes that were pretty dark in high school.
Yeah, I still love dark humor. I think that it's great. And dark humor is some of my favorite types of humor.
Same, but the show needs to reflect that throughout. And this is like as pitch black and tone deaf as this show gets.
The thing is, there's a way to execute dark humor, and they're not using that.
It just feels wrong.
I gave you the world, you threw it away, leaving these broken pieces behind you. Everything wasted, nothing to say, so I can sing no requiem.
I hear your voice and feel you near within these words.
And then we get followed up with like a really interesting song that I really like. So Requiem is a song between the entire Murphy family about like their complicated issues with the son they just lost and trying to figure out how they mourn him. Like the mother is just like, I see him as this perfect god and like he was this prince and wonderful and he was great. And the sister's like, he treated me like garbage my entire life, and now just because he's dead I'm supposed to forget that and like mourn him just because he died? Am I supposed to ignore all the shitty things he did in life? And the dad is just like, I gave you the world, you threw it away like a wimp.
This is probably the most respectful to this subject matter this show ever gets, I would say. This was probably one of my favorites in the show, just for the lyrical content.
And I think that this is the most pathos it earns in the show. Like, this is the most empathy you're going to feel for anyone in this show, especially, like, because you're not going to give it to Evan, and he has most of the stage time.
Yeah, and it's sad that this song follows probably the most tone-deaf song, so it's
actually,
kind of
I think it's
awkward.
Sandwiched between two of the most tone-deaf songs in the entire show.
Yeah, basically. So you have it almost negates it, because it's like you kind of forget how well this song is handled when you have two songs immediately before and after that are handled in the worst possible way that they could have been.
If I could tell her everything I see. If I could tell her how she's everything to me. But we're a million worlds apart. And I don't know how I would even
So, If I Could Tell Her happens when Evan has Zoe, his crush, and a boy who just killed himself's sister on the boy who just killed himself's bed, and he's just explaining like his own emotional like sexual feelings for Zoe, but reframing it into like, oh, this is what your brother used to say about you. And it's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
I feel like you don't have to go any further than that. I think that's literally all you need to say.
And then he kisses her at the end, misreading 1,000 different signs.
Well, that's because he has inserted himself so far into the role of Connor that I think he thought that her love for his brother was love for him. So
it's just fucked up. And the fact that literally 3 or 4 scenes later, they're making out.
It's disgusting.
Like, this is the point where it stops being like, maybe it was just had a tone-deaf moment, being like, this show makes me feel sick to my stomach.
Really? Yeah, this was one of, well,
Andrew has the next one next.
Yeah.
Andrew's Turning Point is the next song.
Yeah, like this song was gross, but then you just have it where Connor walks back on the stage and starts singing with Evan. And it's like, if there was a duet that shouldn't have happened in this show, it's Connor and Evan. I would have liked to see a song where Connor sings with his sister and his sister comes to terms with the negative feelings she has for him. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been good in my version of Dear Evan Hansen, where it's Connor's point of view throughout. Yeah,
but basically what this song does is just, now Connor doesn't even exist anymore. He's literally just a voice in Evan's head. Like
the devil on Evan's shoulder saying, we should keep this up.
Yeah, it's like he's not even a real person to Evan anymore. Evan just sees him as, this is my means to get in. This is my in with this, with everyone, essentially. People will feel bad for me if I use this card, essentially.
And he's not wrong.
It's so... I'm not going back. We're not going back into it. Okay.
What if it's us and only us? And what came before won't count anymore or matter. Can we try that? What if it's you? And what if it's me? And what if that's all that we needed to be? And the rest of the world falls away.
And here's a song I actually like that follows up. Only Us, between Zoe and Evan.
You liked this one?
I like this song in a vacuum. I really like the content and message of this song from Zoe, and in any other musical, in any other context, it would be a great song.
Yeah, except for in this context, she's falling in love with a lie. Everything Evan has told her, everything he's said has been a complete lie. So, it's basically just a song about a girl being drawn into a false relationship, essentially.
But the content, and I like the melody. It sounds nice.
That's great. I do want to point out that I don't think any girl would actually fall in love with Evan, because he is just terrible with women. Like right before this song starts, doesn't he say, "You're breaking up with me," right?
He's like, she's like, well, the thing is, she doesn't want to talk about Connor. She doesn't, because I feel like in her family, since Connor was really the problem child, the one that was always angry, everything was kind of done to revolve around Connor. And now that after he's dead, her entire life is going to be revolved around Connor because he's dead, and that's how that works. And she just kind of wants that moment where it's just about her. She craves this attention that she really rightfully should crave, but she's getting it from Satan.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's hard for me to like that song when it's such a twisted context.
And I understand that. And then we follow it up with a song that makes you feel good. It's like the schadenfreude you really need.
Just let me
I can't remember too much about this song. I'm pretty sure they just all rip into him.
Where everyone just says, "Evan, you're an asshole."
Yeah, but none of them are saying it for the reason that he was lying about all that stuff, though. They're all saying it because he was dating Zoe and they saw him as doing things for himself. But it's not actually what I wanted to see, because I wanted to see him get exposed. Because as an audience member, that's what I know he did. I don't want to see him get comeuppance for something else. I want to see him get comeuppance for what he actually did.
I do, and I get that, but I'm just happy that someone's screaming at him, if you want the honest opinion.
I guess, but if you think of it, though, he's already gotten everything he wants. He's dating the girl of his dreams. Everyone is giving him attention. He just loses his old friends that he really didn't give that much of a shit about. And to be quite honest, both of his friends were dicks in the whole show. So
yeah, we didn't talk about them much, but there ain't much to talk about. Jared is just an asshole, and his other friend, Lana, maybe? Alana. Yeah, she is literally doing things for her own personal gain and using Connor's death just to promote herself, get extracurricular points, get points within the school system. And she's doing it in a more self-aware way than Evan is. Evan is just kind of accidentally falling into it because of his nerves. Whereas Alana is calculated, and it's much more sadistic and weird way she does it.
Yeah, so basically, those two people are not the people that I care about getting angry at Evan. The mother is okay. I'm fine with that. But I would have rather had it been, the people he was lying to, the actual family. That would have been nice.
to be. That's not a worthy explanation. I know there is none. Nothing can make sense of all these things I've done. Words fail, there's
right, so finally Evan sees that the family is getting the residual hate about the suicide letter leaking, and he just spits out the truth at them in a very apologetic song called Words Fail.
Too little, too late.
And this is not as rewarding as you want it to be.
He doesn't even get yelled at or anything. They're kind of just like shocked by it.
Stunned to the
they're
core.
shocked by it, which they should be. But then they don't even go public with it. So I don't know.
I think it's the old tale of like Liberty Valance, which is if you got the legend of the truth and the legend's more interesting, print the legend.
Except for, I would say the truth is more interesting in this case because this guy is such a horrible person that everyone would hate him. And hate sells.
Like Evan broke a few laws here, like actually broke a few laws.
Probably.
Because he held a giant Kickstarter under false pretenses.
That night I tucked you into bed. I will never forget how you sat up and said, "Is there another truck coming to our driveway? A truck that will take mommy away." And the house felt so big, and I felt so small.
Now we gotta immediately follow up this big apologetic song where Evan looks bad with something to make you feel sad for Evan, because you know it wouldn't be this show if we didn't have to feel sad for Evan. Oh boy, his dad left. Oh my god.
I don't think this is really Evan's moment though. Like he admits to his mom that he tried to kill himself, which is the first time he like admitted his suicidal tendencies. And then his mom comes out with a story about how on the day that his dad left, he was like so excited about the truck being there that he didn't notice anything was wrong, and then asked, "Hey, Mom, are you gonna leave me too?" And then she was like, "No, I'm not going to leave you." And she's held true to that even though she wasn't perfect. And I know this is, you're seeing it and the very cynical way it probably was written, as we gotta feel bad for Evan here, but I think this is Heidi's or his mother's moment to be like her emotional core moment of her, this is what I'm doing, and I love you despite all your faults, kid.
I think it was just like, oh, Evan's parents are divorced. We should really feel sad. I'm pretty sure.
I like that song a lot. Like, in any other musical, much like Only Us, I would like it a lot more. Evan gets happily ever after. He's going to community college. Good for him.
Save some money. That is smart.
I mean, he took the financially smart way to do it, but you know what? He didn't deserve college. He deserved to be kicked in the balls.
The fact that the sister met with him at all kind of got me a little upset. Like
she arranged the meeting, which I found even crazier. Like, he seems like the kind of guy that would trick her into going somewhere.
Yeah, like I initially when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, is he stalking her or like what's going on?"
He set up a fake Tinder profile.
I was really worried they were gonna go with like, "Oh, I forgive you. Let's get back together."
I was worried about that at first, and cooler heads prevailed.
That would have been the worst ending I could possibly think of. Like, if that's how it ended, where they live happily ever after with his girlfriend, I would literally... I don't even know what I would have done.
Imagine how angry I was. The night of the Tonys, when I have a favorite musical that year, Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. It is brilliant. It has Josh Groban. They had to redesign the theater. They have this insane music mixed with like accordion, Russian ballads, as well as like punk and rock and electro techno pop, and that interesting score with risks and all that, and it loses to this pop bullshit. Imagine how I felt.
Josh Groban alone would just a Josh Groban concert would beat this shit. But the whole show there, that would be. I'm upset for you. I've never even seen it, but I'm upset for you, Jess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still fucking furious about that. 2 years later.
That's life, though. What?
This show is still playing on Broadway.
I want to ask you, what do you think people find so appealing about this show?
I honestly can't say. I wish I could, but I can't. Like, the performances are all stellar. Like, I imagine seeing Ben Platt perform in Sob live would be really cool to see, I guess.
So, like, my thought is, like, I think similar to Rent almost, where it's just that they have those edgy subjects in there that people like it, and people don't even really stop to think about what the show is really saying about those subjects. You know,
Fair. I agree.
I think people just like to see that type of stuff. They're like, oh, this show has, social anxiety and suicide. I'm a person that talks about those causes. I like this show, even though the way they're handling it is actually horrible.
I agree entirely, but I'm also thinking like maybe the show got in bed with a few like corporations, like anti-suicide and all that.
Speculation, Jess. This is conspiracy.
Yeah, it's conspiracy. But I feel like since probably a lot of foundations supported this show, a lot of people thought like, well, if they support it, then it should be good for that cause. And they're not looking quite objectively at the content.
I'm not a medical professional, so maybe what medical professionals think about these subjects, maybe this actually does handle it perfectly. But from my perspective, this is totally tone deaf and just terrible for these subjects.
And that makes me sad, mostly because there is a lot of talent, like a lot of interesting ideas are here, and a lot of ideas I like. It's just used so piss poorly. Andrew, what is your cheese rating? And overall thoughts on Dear Evan Hansen?
I don't think it deserves a cheese rating. This show didn't make me laugh one time.
And it tries.
This show actually made me genuinely angry. Although that's partially because of my own personal stances coming into it about manipulation of grieving families and shit like that. But, I feel like I could watch something where this same sort of plot happens, but it handled in a different tone, and I could have enjoyed it. But it's just trying to make me feel sympathetic for this. It's just disgusting. The music is not enough to save it. It's kind of generic all the way through. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's just listenable, essentially. The performances are good, and I like some of the set design. And I feel like if you want to read into it, there's definitely some interesting thoughts about how social media affects how we talk about these issues, but I don't think that's what they're going for. But it might have been. Fuck it. I'll give it a cheese rating. I'm going to give it a moldy cheese without the cheese. So just mold.
Andrew, my worst fear about this show is like it's aiming at teenagers and kids and all of that. And I feel like it romanticizes suicide way too much. Like, look at it. It makes people like you more. Suddenly, people who didn't like you are gonna like you and all that. And look at how sad your family looks. And they all love you more. And they're all more relatable to how much they love you. Like, that, like, romanticization of this, like, horrific disease. Like, this depression that goes through everyone. As someone that has dealt with depression in the past, it fucking makes me furious.
I agree with that. I think that you could have a show where that sort of thing is depicted if it were showing that those things, one, either weren't true, or two, is how society should not respond to these sort of things.
But I feel like this show doesn't have an opinion on that, negative or positive.
That's what
that's the worst part.
Yeah, like if this show was coming out and saying like, hey, when you all get together and you just all of a sudden talk about how great this guy that committed suicide is, and you just, raise millions of dollars for him, that's just going to make other people see suicide as a good thing. Like, you guys know that, right? Like, if that's what the show was trying to say, then maybe that'd be an interesting thought, but it's not what the show is trying to say. I don't know. I don't really know what the show is trying to say is the real problem.
And it treats the victim like such a throwaway character, like almost like a puppet, a joke, and a punchline, that there is no way you could take this topic seriously, despite the fact that the show really wants to talk about it.
Yeah, and like basically you have it where the character who has committed suicide is constantly coming back and talking to other characters, so it's like there wasn't even a consequence for him, at least, kind of subconsciously. I don't know. It's a bizarre show, and tonally, I hate it.
If you want to see a show that handles very similar topics in a much better way, please just listen and watch Next to Normal. It is incredible and very similar in musical style without being nearly as generic, and really it's just an altogether a much better watch.
But you say the guy that did the music on this did the music on La La Land, is that true?
They did the lyrics on La La Land, yes.
The lyrics on La La Land, okay. They didn't do the music, though?
No, that was Justin Hurwitz.
Okay. I was going to compliment the music, but the lyrics I don't think deserve it. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. Our Twitter is at Cheesy Musicals. If you disagree with us, please tell us. If you see something that we didn't see, please tell us and let us know. Follow us on Instagram at Musical Theater Lives. Our YouTube page is also under that name. Please shoot us an email at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our title card is created by Jolene Casco. Follow her on Instagram at Jolene Casco. She was incredible. Andrew, thank you for watching this with us.
What do you want?
Thank you for watching this with us. I had a lot of fun talking to you about this.
That was probably the most passionate I've ever been on this show, so maybe the Rent episode? I can't remember.
Just out of curiosity, if you could rank all of our episodes from best to worst, what would it be?
Well, let me get right into that.
We're at the end of the year. This is, I think, our last show that'll be posted in 2018. So, see you in 2019. So, since we started, what is the best to worst ratio?
Best show or best, like, our podcast?
Best show. Best you think was the best, content-wise.
Okay. Like, our podcast or the thing we watched?
The thing we watched.
Okay. I'm trying to remember all the things we watched. I think some of my favorites were, like, Little Shop of Horrors, which was good. Oh, my goodness. What else did we watch? Oh, Fiddler on a Roof. Really, really good. There's some other stuff.
Do you want a list of the episodes real quick?
That would probably help. I'm just trying to remember everything we watched. Hang on, I can pull up a list here. There we go. Okay, some of my favorites, let's see. She Loves Me was good. Fiddler on the Roof, great. I do love the Muppet Movie.
Things you didn't see beforehand, so TR and Muppet Movie are off.
You got it. Let's see. Fiddler on a Roof and well, the ones I haven't seen. That and La La Land are probably the two I like the best that I haven't seen before.
Not even Sweeney Todd?
Well, that was last year.
Just ever since we started the show.
Oh, well, Sweeney Todd, yeah, that's like probably near the top as well. If you want to talk near the bottom, we're looking at like Rent. We're looking at this one. And in the middle is probably the rest.
Like Falsettos to SpongeBob.
Falsettos, SpongeBob, right in the middle, Carrie. I'd say. Carrie, 21 Jump Street, those are all kind of in the middle. And of course, we're only talking about the ones I hadn't seen before, so.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was fun. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew the Wolf.
And we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. For all the acquaintance
we forgot and never brought to mind.
Don't know the words after that.
And old acquaintance we forgot, and tales of auld lang syne.
How dare you forget our acquaintance?
All right, fuck it. I don't care.